Hey everybody, it's Mike Weller from the Weller Group at Keller Williams Realty. It's October 2022. We're here for our monthly mortgage moment with Momi, our monthly check-in on the mortgage world with Momi Pointer, Arbor Financial. Hi, Momi.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Hi,
I'm good. How are
everybody.
you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
So, um, no surprise, this isn't news to anybody. Obviously, I mean, you and I have been talking about inflation for a while, and we have seen interest rates move up over the last I don't, certainly 6, 7 months, but even
Yeah.
the last couple of months, they have gotten a little bit more aggressive with some of the interest rates. And the market has changed and the market shifted. We were in such a hot seller's market for a long time, and it shifted to depending on what metric you look at, you can say it's a neutral market, you can say it's a slight seller's market. In some ways, it's probably a slight buyer's market right now. There's definitely some good opportunities for buyers. That are shopping right now. But I know a lot of buyers are hesitant just because of where interest rates are versus where we got used to over the past few years. And we got so locked in on whether it's purchasing, whether it's refining. Interest rates are so great that everything was 30-year fixed, 30-year fixed, 30-year fixed. And I think there's some opportunities now to think outside the box for buyers to take advantage of the market and to get an interest rate that's lower than that 30-year fixed rate that they're hearing quoted right now. So this is where you're in.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some creative opportunities. And yes, we have seen rates in gee whiz, you and I were talking about in the 2s and 3s, right? Just a year ago. It was just a year ago. And you're right, in the past few months. I mean, I would say since March of this year, they've steadily increased. With a few bumps down, but in the past couple months, they definitely have gone up. And so, I'm recommending to our buyers that they no longer look at a 30-year fixed rate. We've got a couple different options. We have, some buy down options, rate buy down options, and there's some very creative ones. And we have some ARM options, 6-month ARM, 7-year ARM, 5-year ARM, a 10-year ARM. So, with that creativity, if buyers are hesitant to buy, they will have the ability to maybe get a much lower rate before maybe they're able to do a refinance with potentially lower rates coming next year.
Right. Yeah. So if you do something other than a 30-year fix, you're getting a lower rate, with the idea being that at some point rates are going to be a little bit lower than they are right now, and there's an opportunity to come back and refinance that. So that's the one thing about real estate. That's the one, real estate's kind of interesting in that because of interest rates and the way they work, it's kind of the only, if you want to call it an investment, it is an investment, certainly if it's a second, a rental property, but that you can kind of go back and renegotiate your situation and renegotiate your deal later on. So, if you buy stock or anything else, that doesn't really exist in those worlds. So, yeah. So we were talking a little bit, we've been talking about this one particular program that you have, the 2-1 buy down. And actually, one of my sellers is offering that on their listing, that they are willing to, offer a seller credit to a buyer to use a program like that. So, but why don't you tell everybody about this a little bit more?
Yeah. So, I mean, you have the regular rate buy down, right? If you have a regular buyer, just a buyer that wants to put money down towards a home, they can actually buy their rate down without any kind of a concession if they have the resources and the funds to do so. So you and I just searched some rates this morning, and if you have a buyer that is purchasing and maybe wants a lower payment and wants to do the 30-year fixed, right? Doesn't want to do an ARM or anything, they could actually get a 0.5 point movement in their rate. So maybe instead of in the 6s, it's in the 5s. And maybe that's a 2-point buy down. So just using even numbers on a $500,000 loan amount, that'd be $10,000, right? To buy that rate down. And that's for a 30-year fixed. And that's what the rate would be for 30 years.
Yeah.
No concession if you want it. Now, if you do get a concession, you can certainly utilize those funds like a seller credit or even an agent credit to buy the rate down.
Yeah, and just to clarify, when you say concession, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the
Right, a
seller
credit.
paying a credit to the buyer, or so, maybe the agent's kicking in a little bit to the buyer, something along those lines.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
So, you can utilize those funds to buy the rate down, just do a regular rate buy down. But we also have some new programs on the market, which is one is a 2-1 buy down and the other is a 1-0 buy down. So those do require seller concessions or a seller credit to implement those buy downs. But the beautiful thing about those is it's really more for short-term financing. It's still amortized over 30 years, but let's say the rate is 6.5 today. Let's just say, using a random number in the mid sixes. If you do a 2-1 buy down and you're going to get a seller credit, your rate will be 4.5 or in the mid fours for the
right.
next year, for the
For,
next 12 months.
yeah,
That's a considerable
yeah.
savings.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And
I
then
mean,
the
you and I have
second
seen
year, it goes to
it
5.5.
goes up a point. It
Yeah,
goes to 5.5 or in the mid fives.
right,
So, I mean, you and I have run numbers where it's at $800 a month savings the first year.
right.
That's considerable.
Yeah, it's significant.
Yeah, very significant. But let's say you don't want to do the 2-1 buy down, and maybe you're only getting a seller credit or a seller concession enough to do the 1-0 buy down.
Mhm.
Then again, using the same scenario, mid sixes rate, 6.5 rate, then for the next 12 months, the first 12 months, your rate will be 5.5 or in the mid fives.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
after the first year, then it goes up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you do the 2-1, get a rate in the fours,
Yeah.
and in the next year or so the rates go down, you could still refinance into the lower rate into a 30-year fixed rate
Right.
then.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a good program. The other, we were talking about ARMs a little bit too, and the ARMs, they kind of change and shift all the time, but like right now you have a pretty good
7
you
year.
had one pretty good one, if you want to kind of talk about that. Again, knowing that they change all the time, but just as an example.
Yeah, they do change all the time. And this is a 7-year ARM. So the beauty of a 7-year ARM versus a 5-year ARM is the 5-year ARM, you have to qualify on the note rate +2. So it's a little more difficult to qualify on a 5-year ARM. On the 7-year ARM, you just qualify at the note rate. And I think we ran it this morning and it's, low fives on the 7-year ARM.
Yeah.
So again, not meant to be short-term financing. It's a 30-year, it's amortized over 30 years. But if you can get a rate in the low fives, and that qualifies you, and rates go down in the next year or two, you could certainly refinance, or you could hold that loan for the full 7 years before it starts to adjust. Because in case our viewers don't know, a 7-year ARM is a rate that's fixed for 7 years and then it starts to adjust.
Yeah, so you've got a 7-year window of a lower rate, lower payment than you would be getting right now on a 30-year fixed. And you can come back and refi that anytime within 7 years, or you can keep it beyond the 7 years and it will just adjust to what the market rates are at
Index.
that point.
Yeah, what the index and the margin are.
Yeah.
Which right now are the SOFR.
Right.
Secured overnight financing rate. Used to be the LIBOR. And to that comment, Mike, when people were in the LIBOR, like a year or two ago, or even 3, the LIBOR was, I don't even remember what it was, but the margin and the index were so low that they just stayed in those ARMs because their payment actually went down.
Right.
They were really, really low. But
and
now as the Fed, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and the thing about all of this is it's a great tool to use in the market right now for buyers, where buyers have more leverage than they have had in a long time, certainly a long time. More, and it's very doable right now to negotiate for a seller to pay a credit, to pay concessions, to do a buy down, or to help with closing costs. So, from that standpoint, it's a pretty decent time to buy. And then if you can get a little, I don't even want to say creative with the financing, but if you could think outside the box a little bit, or at least look at it, it might make sense for a lot of people where some people just kind of see the news all the time and they're saying, oh, interest rates are, they hit set, well, interest rates are 7 and they're going to, like, I don't want to buy right now. It's not a good time. Really, I would say look at the whole picture and look at your whole picture, your whole scenario. So.
And, the doom and gloom news that you and I always hear, there's always a positive way to spin it, because you have to look at more than just the whole picture. You're good at talking with your sellers. Let's run all those options, all the ARM options, all the buy down options, though. That's the best thing that we can do for our buyers.
Yeah.
You would know more about sellers being able to offer the seller concession or the seller credit, but you and I have run numbers. At the end of the day, if a seller offers, correct me if I'm wrong, if a seller offers a credit or a concession, don't they net more money than if they were to drop the price? Or maybe a combo of the two?
Well, it depends. Well, it depends on what the price drop is. But like on one of my listings right now, we were looking at a price reduction, and we decided to do a much smaller price reduction and offer the credit, because it's really more, it means a lot more to the buyer. It really helps the buyer out a lot more with their monthly payment than the same amount would have been on just a price adjustment.
And the beauty of it is maybe you'll attract more buyers, because now you're offering a seller credit where those buyers may qualify. You might have more buyers qualifying because they can do the 2-1 buy down or the 1-0 buy down, right?
Yeah.
So, I love it.
So that's kind of the story for today. If anybody out there has been on the fence, maybe they were buying or looking at buying, maybe they were shopping earlier this year and kind of put the brakes on, might not be a bad idea to kind of revisit and reach out to Momi. She can maybe go over some different lending options with you and see how that might make sense. So that's really it. That's kind of what I thought would be the message for today and this month. So
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much. Thank you, Momi. Thanks for being here again. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And like I said, reach out to Momi with your questions on buy down programs and ARMs and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. And thank you everybody for listening. And yes, I'm happy to run all the different options to see if we can get you qualified or get you a lower payment and get you into a home before the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again, Momi. Take care, everybody. See you next month.
Bye.